Chris Eubank Sr. was there alongside Nigel Benn doing a speaking engagement, which they've been doing for the last few years. I'm surprised they kept to this one, if I'm honest with you. I thought this one might not happen. He has since, I will say this, this is Nigel now, taken to social media to correct himself, stating that he meant to say 3 weeks as opposed to 3 months, as you just heard on the clip. Nevertheless, Gareth, 3 weeks or 3 months, the fact that they all knew, and he's admitted that now, and still nothing was done, still, I guess, will send alarm bells out to fight fans of Conor, fans of everyone, regardless.
No, but we knew that they, the test was on the 1st of September. I think they were all informed on the 23rd. I think that's my understanding. So if they were informed on the 16th, that's what he's saying. It was 3 weeks. But if it's 3 months, and as you say, correct himself, and you have to allow someone to correct themselves.
Of course.
That goes back to July. So, I mean, there are stories doing the rounds that there are 2 positive tests, but that hasn't been proven yet, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
The young man has got the opportunity to prove his innocence first, if he is innocent, and show that he's a clean athlete. I haven't heard any more about the B sample. I haven't heard any more about a defence being mounted yet, other than Nigel, when he was on stage with Christopher Eubank Sr., saying that it is in the hands of the lawyers and they are mounting a defence with Eddie Hearn. UKAD are now investigating. Last Friday, the Boxing Board of Control issued a statement saying that UKAD are now investigating the scenario. So they'll be getting the paperwork from Voluntary Anti-Doping Association, VADA, and they will take it from there. Whether they have their own hearing and they give their recommendations for the board, we are yet to ascertain. But it will all come out in the next few weeks. And let me go back to last weekend for a moment. Thank God for real boxing and boxing taking place, because it was a very dark week, because it became a bigger story than just Conor Benn. It was like it was tantamount to discovering that there's no transparency in boxing, and when the mainstream gets involved in boxing, it's a very messy affair, because you can pick it apart at the seams, because it's a very complex algorithm that allows boxing to work. So in many ways we need clarification. It will come sooner rather than later, but it definitely needs to be done.
Yeah, agreed. Like, this can't be one of those that just sort of magically disappear because time has gone on. No, I think this will still sort of be out there. One thing, and I'm sure you've watched that interview. I think it's about an 8-minute clip. One thing that Nigel did say, and look, Chris came on talkSPORT and you're speaking to Jim White and Simon Jordan, talking about they tried to murder my son, and he's very emotional, and you can't help almost sort of choke up as he's talking, and he's talking about the weight cut, and everyone's seen the picture of Chris Eubank Jr. making the weight, and look, physically the body still looks good, but you can see it in his face. He's completely drained. Yeah. And Nigel sort of gets emotional and looks at Chris Senior and says, "You were right," and he's happy it didn't happen, the fight, because he really believes that Conor would have hurt Chris. And obviously they've been through their own stuff with Gerald McLennan and Michael Watson and et cetera, et cetera. So in a way, it's almost a good thing that it didn't happen, isn't it?
Absolutely. And when you saw him emaciated in that way, it worried you. It worried you if this was going to be a fight that went into the trenches. And there was something gung-ho, kamikaze-like about Chris going into this, saying, I only need to be at 60% and all of this. Welterweights have fought middleweights before, and they're not always come out successfully, but it's Sugar Ray Leonard, defeated Marvin Hagler, didn't he? And one was a welterweight really, and one a middleweight, but you need those skills to be able to do so. I think that the talk now, of course, is that if Ben clears his name, the fathers have now agreed, not that they are the promoters, that the fight really needs to take place at 160, and that's not going to be fair on Conor Benn.
No, it's not. And there's no doubt in that. I mean, all the 160, they'll try and put a rehydration clause in it. There's no doubt about it, to try and make it fair. Does boxing need to scrap these things? And look, some of the biggest fights in the history of the sport, well, at least in the last 15 years, have been made because of catch weights and rehydration clauses. But does someone else need to look at this and scrap this? Like these rehydration clauses and catch weight fights, like, again, I understand that some big fights have been made and we've been fortunate to cover those fights, but seeing Chris like that, and then I think they gave him a £3 rehydration within 24 hours. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I think a lot of fight fans don't know this stuff.
No, I know.
And they'll see two guys get in the ring. Yeah. Conor would have got the victory, maybe, and they wouldn't understand, but what was going on behind the scenes?
Well, look, Ben Eubank 3, first of all, born rivals, was a great promotional extravaganza, but really, we don't know what was going to happen in that fight. Chris Eubank Jr., at the right weight, would probably be far, far too big for Conor Benn. It's too dangerous a fight, as we say, with the catch weight. I just feel that, it reminds me of two other fights in my time. And I remember talking to Virgil Hunter about this first one, and he said, I really didn't want him to take it. It was Amir Khan taking the Canelo fight. And I remember being in Virgil's Oakland gym with him, and him taking me to one side and said, I didn't want the kid to take this, and I mean it. He said, he's going to have to box properly, perfectly rather, for every minute of every round to stay alive and win this fight. Every minute of every round. And Khan obviously had great hand speed. And then Kell Brook and Gennady Golovkin. Big weight differences, big differences. And that's without the weight cut or the catch weight on either Canelo. I mean, Canelo was enormous when he fought Amir Khan. It just looked wrong. I think
and there's so many boxers have been linked with
heavier, know?
And there's so many. Also, this is maybe slightly different, but I remember when Chad Dawson came down from 175 to 168 to fight Andre Ward. He's never been at 168 before.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I get it. It's a big fight of Andre Ward, but you're not the same.
Here's another one. Floyd Mayweather against Juan Manuel Marquez. He was
it's a disgrace that one was.
14 pounds heavier, I think he was.
Yeah. He dragged Marquez up from 135, I believe.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was 135 to welterweight, wasn't it? It's not right. It's not. There's weight divisions for a reason. It's an old adage that, and we do have to be careful about the safety of the fighters. I'm so glad this fight didn't go ahead between Ben and Eubank, and it's issued a word of warning for future fights in my view, and I think it will change things now. I don't think this fight will ever happen actually now. Do you?
No chance. Absolutely no chance. Just because, again, Chris is not going to agree to 157. Considering what's happened, he's probably not even going to
break it
to a rehydration clause. He's going to look, if you want to fight me, come up and fight me. And Conor's not going to do that. So, no, I think we move on. And it's a big shame because I thought the shoulder programming was good. I thought my face-off was excellent. So it's a disappointing thing. But I think for the good of boxing, we found out what happened with regards to the drug test and we all move on. And Chris fights welterweights. And so Chris fights super middles or middles and Conor fights welterweights. There's a lot of options in both weight classes for both of them.